Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Today we're flying a left-hand traffic pattern in the simulator. Just a quick note, I'm not a real pilot, so if you spot any mistakes, please bear with me. This is all for learning and fun, so let's get started. Today we're gonna be flying the Cessna 152 and we're gonna do our pre-flight inspection. So the first thing we're gonna check is our prop flare. We're gonna check it for any damage, cracks, which you don't have. And the next thing we're gonna check our wings. We're gonna check our nav lights, which they don't seem to be damaged. And we're gonna check our aileron, left aileron, down, up. It looks good. And we're gonna check our flaps. It's in good condition. And we can check our landing gear strut and the landing gear itself. They look in a good condition. So now we can move to the elevator at the back. So the elevator also looks good. Alright, we can check the rudder. Rudder looks good. And we're gonna check the other side like we did on the other side. The flaps look good. The right aileron, same thing. Up down movement looks good. And we're gonna check our nav lights. They're on. So in real life you can check your fuel on the wing on top. And you could have also the dipstick like in a car to check your oil. But here it doesn't open on Microsoft Flight Simulator. Let's remove our chocks. And we can go inside the cockpit and do our startup. Alright, so I'm gonna set up my cockpit through my own setup. It's not a checklist, it's not a standard way to do it. But if you wanted to do it in your home simulator, you could do as the way I'm gonna do it. And so first things first, we're gonna check the fuel shutoff valve. It should be open. And the next thing, it's gonna be our battery master switch on. So when the battery master switch on, the CDI indicator comes to live, and we can check also fuel quantity here, which we have almost half tank, which is plenty for traffic pattern. Oil temperature looks good. So the next thing we're gonna do is mixture to which is the fuel and air mixture we want to give to the engine to ignite it. And then the next thing is we're gonna turn on our navigation lights and beacon lights to warn anybody on the ground that we're gonna start our engine soon. And we're gonna do that also by saying the famous clear prop. Gonna open our window because our door is open. We don't need to open the window, so we can say clear prop, and we're gonna start our engine. Alright, our engine starts. Now we can check our oil temperature and oil pressure. That's good, everything comes to live. And in a cold conditions, let's say if you are in icy conditions and you want to start the engine first, you might need to prime the engine. Priming the engine means just throwing splash of fuel into the combustion, so it would be easier to ignite the engine because it will be sitting in the cold and it needs something to ignite when you start the aircraft engine in a cold conditions, but in a good weather like today we didn't need to prime it, so that prime button is here. You can use it 3 times and then you can start the engine in cold conditions like that. So for now we're gonna close our door as we be ready to taxi soon. We're gonna put our taxi lights on, and also in real life you can set your radio controller frequency on here on this panel, and we're gonna set our transponder to standby. So we can check the outside one more time. The taxi light is on, beacon light's on, and the nav light is on. So we're ready to taxi in this beautiful sunrise. Alright, parking brake off. We can go taxi. So for taxi power, you can set your RPM around 1000. That will give you a good taxiing speed. Right, like this. It's a high slope here, that's why it stopped. It needs more power. So before we enter our runway, we're gonna do the engine run-up checklist. So to do that, it's gonna be we're gonna set our power RPM to 1700. You can see the RPM here on this gauge. You see it? So I'm just gonna do it like this. So when it reaches around 1700, that's too much, but a little bit decrease. That should be 1700 RPM. And then we're gonna check the magnetos. So when we put the magnetos to left and right, the RPM is gonna drop a little bit. As you can see, you would see it dropping a little bit. Left, right. It's just a little bit, about 100 to 250 RPM drop. It's not that much. If you do that, that means the engine is good. Alright. Set just back to idle. And we're gonna need our landing lights and turn off the taxi lights. We're gonna need strobe lights to on. Since we're gonna depart in a short runway, Saba today, we're gonna depart from 30 and we're gonna do a right-hand traffic pattern. So usually on the Cessna when we take off we don't need flaps, but today we have a very short runway, so we're gonna use flaps 10 for takeoff. So the flaps are here. I'm gonna set 10 degrees. 10 degree. Like that. So we got flaps 10 for takeoff. Got our landing lights on. Taxi lights off. We can enter the runway and we can backtrack. Parking brake off. And Just set for taxiing. Got a nice sunrise view. And we're gonna make our turn here. Let's line up our aircraft. Alright, we're in the center. So we're gonna go ahead and fly the takeoff. So we're gonna set max power on the throttle here for takeoff. Power set, full power. Use the rudder to steer it on the ground, to steer the aircraft on the ground. Got 40 knots, 50 knots, rotate. I know it's a shorter runway. Doesn't feel it's feasible for the Cessna. It's a very short runway. Gonna climb at least to 500 feet. Right, now we're gonna turn to cross leg. Gonna turn right. Gonna keep climbing till we reach 1000 feet for the traffic pattern altitude. This is a cross leg. Look at the beautiful sunrise. The runway is over there. That's 1000 feet, and we're gonna turn downwind because we don't want to be far away from the runway, since we're gonna be using the visual cues from the runway. So there's our runway right there. So we got too much speed in this thing, so we're gonna decrease the power. Once we finish the runway line, or we cross off the runway threshold, we're gonna start descending. So here we can set the mixture to lean and carburetor on, because the carb heat heats up the carburetor, which is good in low idle power settings, which we're gonna use soon when we descend. Right now we can start our descent and mixture back to full. And climb. Alright, now we don't see the runway. So when it's 45-degree angle from our plane, the runway should be over there. We're gonna start our base turn to final. So let's turn base now. Okay, this is our base turn. We're gonna be shortly turning to final. We're gonna turn to final right now. And we're gonna configure the flaps once we turn final. I'm gonna use flaps full because we have a very short runway. Flaps 1 set. Flaps 20 degrees now. And we're gonna set the last notch of flaps. Flaps 30. Nice and easy like that. Don't give it too much power. 60 knots is a good approach speed for Cessna for landing. Once we cross the runway threshold, we're gonna set thrust to idle. Now idle thrust, keep the nose up. Smooth landing like that. We're back on the ground. We can keep our flaps up and backtrack to exit the runway. Flaps to 0. So here's our taxiway. We're gonna exit right here to the parking stands. So I'm just gonna stop right here after exiting the runway because I need to do some checks. So we're gonna do carburetor heat back to 0. We don't need it since we land. And strobe lights can go to off. And landing lights off and taxi lights on. Alright, now we can go ahead and to park our plane on the parking stand. And parking brake off. So parking brake off. And let's taxi the plane to the parking gate. Oops, sorry about that. So we're gonna park at parking stand 5 to the last stand. Sorry, I could not get the taxiway lined up. But let's give it a try one more time. think now we are in the line. Just a little bit more power. Yep, now in the line, so we can park here. Alright, so we're gonna save. Gotta make sure our throttle is to idle. Flaps up. And to shut off the engine, we're just gonna reduce the mixture to 0%, which will cut off the engine. Just to cut. See, the engine power is off now, and then we're just gonna turn off the taxi light, strobe light, and knob lights off, and beacon lights also off because we shut off our engine. Keys to off, and the battery master switch off. So that's how you do a traffic pattern in the Cessna 152. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe for more. Thank you.